Welcome in, let's check out some records. Alright, we're going to start out strong with these 3 Korean pressings. So, people talk about they love the Japanese pressings, but we got K pressings over here, okay? So get on my level. But in all seriousness, a lot of the Korean pressings that I've heard, they sound good, but they've been on discs that have been very well played, so it's hard to judge the absolute quality of them. But my general impression was they're good, but just they kind of have that second generation feel to them. But these discs here are in immaculate shape, very well cared for by a true collector. No indication that they've ever been played. Also, the jackets themselves are in great shape. So let's check them out. We'll start out with this. Stokowski conducts Bach with the London Symphony Orchestra. So this is on a Gold Seal label, Korean pressing. Now, the American Gold Seal pressings are, I'd say, worth negative money. Like, you couldn't even, if you put one in my hand, I don't think I could take it from you. Like, they're just awful. Just terrible with pock marks, warpy, flimsy vinyl, and they just sound terrible. Terribly pressed. Worse than American Angels by a long shot. But this is on an immaculate Korean pressing, so let's check it out. Now, different manufacturers did different repressings, same as Japan. This one's done by Jigu Records of Seoul, Korea. Now all the Korean pressings have the Ministry of Culture registration numbers. This is registration number 1, so I guess they must have been the first ones to do the represses. A lot of them you'll see are from Sungum, and they are on registration number 3. But anyway, so this is on Jigu. It's a really good disc. It sounds great. The original pressing, US pressing, would be on a red seal with the right side nipper, which I think would sound quite similar to this one, although it might break up a bit more in the loud parts. On this disc, the loud swells and crescendos, they don't break up. They sound pretty good. And overall, it's a great sounding disc. It's smooth and really good. Although, yeah, I would love to hear it head to head with an American one, but overall, quite good. Okay, next. Next up, I was interested to get this one. First of all, it's on Teldec, and Teldec makes some great records. It is digital, so okay, but it's a direct metal mastering. It's a 1989 pressing of a 1985 recording. This is Franz Schubert, Symphony Number 8, with the Vienna Symphony with Nicholas Harnoncourt. So Harnoncourt usually doing, the historically interpreted performances on a lot of period instruments. Here he's just breaking out and just going for it. So in his later years, and you know what? The performance is really good. I really do enjoy it. The disc itself, it was manufactured by Oasis Records, which is number 16 on the Ministry of Culture and Information. It's not that great. It doesn't have any mid-tone body. It feels thin, and I guess that's maybe the digitaliness of it all. Also, the pressing itself, in some of the bigger moments, it like crackles up, like the cutting head didn't cut it properly or something. I really don't think it's my gear, because all the other discs don't sound like that. It just doesn't sound good. That's the only way to say it. It's a shame, because it is a very interesting performance. If you do see the older Teldecs, the ones with the silver label, those are quite good. The analog ones, and even some of the digital ones, the German press Teldecs I've gotten have been quite good. This one, no, I would say it's a fail sonic-wise. Performance is really cool. Okay, next up, and the final of the Korean pressings, is this Haydn Quartets with Janáček Quartet. So it's on a Decca narrowband, but it's an older narrowband that goes all the way across the edges. So this is manufactured by Sung Limited, and that's number 3 on the Registry of Culture and Information. This disc sounds really good. Incredible, I must say. If you told me this is an original UK pressing, I would absolutely believe you. It leaves nothing to be desired. It's full. It's warm and detailed. You can feel the room, and the room sounds great. And dead quiet vinyl. These narrowbands, the older narrowbands, they're getting hard to find in really clean shape. Definitely as clean as any UK pressing I've heard. So, an excellent disc, and just a wonderful listen to. Really hard to lift the stylus off. You got to listen to the whole side. You can't cut this one short. So this one is incredible, and really has boosted my level of confidence in Korean pressings. If I see any more of these, wide bands on Sungum, registration number 3, yeah, I'm going for it. This was absolutely satisfying. It's an SXL 6093. Next up, we have Danse Macabre, Saint-Saëns Symphonic Poems, Philharmonia Orchestra with Charles Dutoit. This is a 1980 pressing, and it's a Dutch pressing, which would be for this time frame. where the Deccas and Londons at this time were pressed in Holland. It's a narrow band, Kingsway Hall recording. It sounds fantastic. There's the space, the energy, the playing. It's very well balanced, very full. It has that beautiful full narrow band bass that just, it feels natural. You don't need to turn the bass up at all. It's just there already. The playing, yeah, as I mentioned, just really energetic. You just really get invested in the whole performance. And it just sounds great all the way through. It is on the TAS list. I believe it's also on the SAL list. It's a renowned disc. If you see it, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth a listen. And it's fun to play for guests, too, that aren't really into classical very much, to kind of shock them a little bit. So, yeah, great disc. Highly recommended. Next one is a bit of a strange one. It was intriguing to me, so I picked it up. It's a Prokofiev, The Ugly Duckling, and also Cinderella Ballet Suite. It's Stokowski again, with the Stadium Symphony Orchestra of New York. So it is on the Everest, and it's on the sort of the red, blue, yellow mountain disc style, which usually I find can be quite iffy, the pressings. This pressing is really actually quite quiet, a good pressing. And I feel like these mountain ones are older, or I should say they were pressed later, but it sounds old. Like the sound on this actual disc sounds like a really early stereo. It sounds like an old recording, but a good recording. Like it's well done, very well played. I was getting excited to hear the Cinderella Suite. I was really getting into it, but I feel like I know what happened. Stokowski got into the mix room and just started fiddling around too much with the pans and the faders. And I know because like this was a time when, 16 track recording and stuff, and recording was getting more complicated with multi-miking, so they were experimenting. But it just sounds so weird. It's just distracting because a part will be playing and the whole part will pan over to the left. And you're like, well, hold on now. That sounds so unnatural. I'm all for studio recording sometimes, but not when they do that. And then other parts will, like instead of just the cello playing on the left side, it'll just like be faded up and you'll feel it fade up. So it's totally unnatural in that way. And it sadly to the point of distraction. The Ugly Duckling, the vocals sound quite good for the singer. Regina Resnick is the soprano. It does sound old, but quite good. And the other pieces after that don't have singing they sound quite nice. It is good. So it's almost worth it to have those. And there's not as much monkeying around with the mixing and fading on side B. So that's good. Overall, though, recommendable, I'm not sure. It's interesting, but it would be nice to hear just a normal mix on it. Next up, we have the Haydn Symphonies, number 94 and 96. This is Academy of St. Martin in the Fields with Neville Mariner. It's a 1977 pressing, Philips Dutch pressing. Immaculate shape, like unplayed, unused. Even the cover is just feels brand new. I get excited when I find these. I like Philips. I'm on board with Philips, and this one delivered in every way. It's very crisp. It's got an excellent energy to it. You can feel the room. A trifle bit bright. I find myself wanting to pull the bass up a little bit, and when I do, everything sounds perfect. So playing this in conjunction or back to back with, say, the Saint-Saëns narrow band with Dutoit, that feels very well balanced straight the way through. Not quite as detailed and very, very nice. This one has got, it's more sort of in your face and forward, but it does lack a bit of the bass as a consequence. They're both really clean, quiet sounding vinyl. So in that respect, they're very similar. And yeah, the other one is a Dutch pressing too. So that's no surprise there, but they're definitely a different philosophy for how they recorded the pieces. Okay, the next one is a very interesting disc. This is CRD. You don't see them too often. They're a smaller label out of England. I think all the pressings are from England. So this one is pressed in England. It's 1980. Francesco Valls, also not much known about this composer. He was mostly like a choral, like sacred composer doing choirs with orchestra. And he was the chapel mass meister for the Barcelona Cathedral, I believe in the late 1600s. So, and a lot of his work has been lost, but this is an excellent piece. Very lively and sprightly for such old music. Like usually music from this age, the choral music's kind of drawn out a bit, but this one, it's got a lot of energy, a lot of pace to it. It's London Oratory Choir with the Thames Chamber Orchestra under the direction of John Hoban. And I have another excellent disc by John Hoban. That's why I picked this one up. It's a Monteverdi on Pi Records. That one's really, really good. This is excellent too. Very smooth, excellent recording. Sometimes the orchestra does get drowned out a bit by the vocals, but at no point does the vocals break up. It sounds, as I mentioned, very smooth, a tiny bit bass shy, but not a lot, and really excellent. A great find. It's like something. This is kind of what's cool. I bought it for the label, basically, because I don't see many CRDs, and was very pleasantly surprised. So this is a great one. I don't know if you'll see it out there, but if you see Vols, check him out. He's cool. So keeping with the obscure composers, I have this disc. It's George Muffat, Concerti and Suite La Petite Bande. It's Baroque. He's a Baroque composer. He was quite popular in his day, but just faded out of popularity, I suppose, much in the same way that C.P.E. Bach was really popular in his time, more popular than Johann Christian Bach, and he had to be resurrected recently out of obscurity. So this is on the BASF label. So you might know them. They used to be, or maybe there still are, like a large chemical conglomerate, as far as I know, and they broke out in, I think, 71 to start doing LPs. And they bought out rights to different pieces of music. They actually had Ella Fitzgerald, I think, record for them. But they didn't quite make it as a label. I think by 76 or so, they were kind of wrapping it up. But in that time, they did do some pretty cool classical stuff. So it is worth checking out. I've seen German pressings and American pressings, and I do find the German ones to sound better. This one, you'll notice in the top left, it says BASF and also Harmonia Mundi. I believe they bought this piece, like Harmonia Mundi did the production for them and they bought it off them, because Harmonia Mundi actually released it later under Deutsche Harmonia Mundi on their gold label, which I think would probably sound a bit better. This disc sounds quite good. It's not 100% clean vinyl, but pretty good, pretty well balanced, although I do feel it's sort of missing some detail and presence, and it feels like it's just being held back. I can't quite pinpoint what exactly it is, but it's just not hitting the right way in a very super pleasing way. It's just not quite green, but just, I don't know, it's hard to say. But it is good though, and if you're just listening, like I'm listening really intensely here with headphones, but I mean, if you just put it on the speakers, you put it on the background, the music isn't very challenging, so it's pleasant. It's very nice to listen to, I should say. So I'm just saying it's not like a contemplative piece or something like that. But yeah, BASF, check them out. They have some good stuff out there. Okay, this is a bit of a strange one too by the way of the pressing. It's a C.P.E. Bach Harpsichord Concerto in D and Oboe Concerto in E flat. This is Ensemble of Collegium Arium. So this is a RCA repressing on the Victrola stereo. This particular one is a Canadian pressing. It's on a purplish pink Victrola label, which I've been trying to buy the American ones that are on a little more pinkish than this, and I have had good luck with those usually. Not all, but I've had some good luck with them. So I started getting them instead of neglecting them. This one I got, it's really weird because when I first played it, I thought, oh, it's a miss. It just sounds rattly and kind of congested and almost distortion-y. It just didn't sound right. And so I thought, okay, put it away. And then maybe I'll just use it as like a PSA to tell you guys maybe the Victrolas are not good. But as I give it one last listen here, with different stylus profile, it does sound pretty good. Like I can kind of feel like it maybe has the potential to break up, but it never quite did. And I think because the first time I played it with a conical, which I play a lot and demo a lot when I first get a disc, just, pop it on there to hear how it sounds. It's kind of my casual player. But when I'm doing some evaluations, I use my proper setup, which has a Shibata profile, which is a smaller tip diamond. It goes deeper in the groove. And I think that's what's happening here is that with the conical, it was sort of bouncing around on the top. And with the Shibata, it's going in and sitting a lot nicer in the groove. So it just sounds better. Usually, I gotta say, it's kind of the other way around. Usually the conical is more forgiving. And then once I put it on with the Shibata, it's like kind of more flaws are revealed, but this one is the other way around. So interesting. Very nice music. and a good disc, I have to say. It sounds crisp. Also, I will mention this, where did it say that? It was, I can't find it right now on here, but it was recorded by Harmonia Mundi. So RCA bought it again from Harmonia Mundi. Doing more. They made a lot of recordings. Oh yeah, it says right here on the label, licensed by Harmonia Mundi, Germany. Also, I will mention it has Gustav Leonard on harpsichord and Helmut Houquet on oboe, on Baroque oboe. So yeah, I'd say they're a bit of a gamble. Don't pay a lot for these, these Victrolas. I will say my experience with the deep purple burgundy, I don't know if I mentioned before, but those, I haven't had much luck. I've read online that people like them, but I haven't had any luck with those ones. These lighter pinkish purple ones, yeah, worth checking out at a small cost. Also, I kind of had to laugh. Yesterday I was in the record store and they had the Rampal Lily Laskin flute melodies, like Japanese flute melodies disc. It's on like a gray Columbia orange label, Columbia, for $40. It's like, okay, I had to let out a little giggle there, but that's okay, because I got the obviously I didn't buy that. I have like a couple copies of that already, but I got the Scriabin Symphony No. 2 with Svetlanov and USSR for $2. So okay, if you want to just price the albums by the way the covers look, I'm okay with that. And you can't blame the record store owners. Their head's not in the classical game. They're thinking about classic rock and new releases and, making valuations on those kind of stuff that moves fast, right? So they're not into classical, and that's okay. That's better for us. We can pick up some cool stuff for a decent price. So, yeah. Okay. For our final set here, we're going out into the weeds. We're going so far out into the weeds, it's hard to even discern what album this is. Like, there's the swirl. I think it's the Norwegian Cultural Council, I believe. But in the top it says PSI, and it has distribution by Polydor. Anyway, what is it? It's Johan Halvorsen, Fossagrimmen, and Masquerade Suite. We've got the Krinkasting Sorkestret Oslo. Yeah. Say that 10 times really fast. That's one of the longest words I've ever seen. Look at that. Anyway, it's under the direction of Ovin Berg. Very interesting. I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, more of like a Nordic kind of just, Sibelius or something, like Joachim Raff, like something like that. I don't know, but this is really, it's interesting and it's great. It's sort of like folksy and warm. It reminds me kind of like Irish folk music, but also American, like kind of Copeland style, very lyrical. And it's the way he works the strings. Really unexpected in a good way. This is what's so cool. I barely even remember buying it. I think it was on one of my recent binges. But I'm glad I got it. It's so good. The sound is really great, considering this is a label that's like very small and not really, not known for anything, I don't think. 1978 pressing, just wonderful. The more I listen to it, I like it more and more. Even just now, I was just trying to give a final test for sound, and I had to listen to the whole thing. It's so cool. Really good, really good. Yeah, I don't know if it's common or you'll find it out there, but if you do, just pick it up. The cover's really beautiful too. And the more I look, though, I must say, the way the horse's back leg is sort of bent and the stoic expression on their face, it makes me feel like they're kind of relieving themselves in a pond at midnight. But I still love it. It's still very peaceful. And Halvorsen. I will be looking out for more of his stuff. Really good stuff. And I'm very glad I found this disc. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you next time.